Welcome back to Reverse Engineering Wattpad. This is episode 6. I'm Will. Of course, this is Claire. And today we will be doing chapters 15, 16, 17, and 18. I usually read out the titles of these, don't I? What's 15 called again? 15 is The Glow. 16 is Psychology Test. 17, if I'm remembering the order of the words correctly, is Mark and the Mirthless, Moonless, Dour Queen of Sorrow and Darkness. And 18, the Slutty Waitress.
Yes. Also, before we begin, I'll say this at the start of the video instead of the end. There's a link in the description for a playlist that has all of the Life Magic videos in order on it, in case you've missed some or want to wait until we've posted them all to go watch them all. But they're there, they're in order, and now you know.
All right, so let's get rolling.
Okay. Chapter 15, The Glow. Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire's point of view. When I woke up, I was still laying next to Ace, and I realized that last night wasn't a dream. It had really happened. I looked at Ace as he slept. He looked so innocent and cute and peaceful. Nothing like the boy I knew him to be, but everything like the boy he revealed himself to be last night after we slept together. I wanted him to stay like this, so at peace from the horrors of the world. I didn't know how long I spent staring at his face, the pink of his lips, the mess of his hair from sleeping on it all night, the quiet sounds of his breathing, but it felt like hours. I took as much of Ace as I could, seeing that I had nothing else to do and I didn't really want to leave the bed. When Ace first opened his eyes, I was still watching him.
Rosie, he said quietly, and I just about died from how sexy his morning voice was.
Hi, Ace, I whispered.
A small smirk spread out on his face. You stayed.
Of course, silly. I resisted the urge to reach out and poke the dimples that formed when he smirked. Okay. I don't know why that got me. Ace closed his eyes again and pulled me close to him. I could hear the beating of his heart from where my ear was pressed into his chest. When I got back to my dorm a couple of hours later, Raven was sitting on her bed flipping through a notebook. She let out a frustrated sigh and closed it. I got an outfit out of my closet and laid it out on my bed. When I glanced back at Raven, she was looking at me in shock. What? I asked, not understanding why she was looking at me like that.
Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire, there's something different about you, Raven said. You're glowing.
What do you mean? I asked.
Raven tapped her finger on her chin, deep in thought, and looked me over. Her eyes grew wide and her mouth fell open. Did you sleep with Ace? She gasped.
Immediately, I could feel myself blushing. I tried to stutter out an answer, but there was no point in trying to lie because Raven clapped her hands over her mouth.
You totally slept with Ace, she exclaimed.
I stammered, still blushing.
Raven dropped her hands, a huge grin on her face. She got up from her bed, put her hands on my shoulders, and guided me over to my desk chair. When I sat, she went to the corner of the room and grabbed a cord I had never noticed before. She yanked on the cord, and all of a sudden confetti was falling from the ceiling all around. She suddenly had a party horn in her hand, and she blew into it really loudly. You did it, girl, she yelled. You lost it.
I couldn't stop blushing. Raven skipped over to me and threw her arms around me, somehow managing to put a party hat on both of our heads at the same time.
Tell me all about it, she said with a huge smile. Wait, not yet. Raven went over to our fridge and pulled out a bottle of champagne, then got 2 glasses from the cupboard. My eyes grew wide when I saw the label on the bottle. It was Champagne Blanc, 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 Rose, Jaune, et Blanc d'Or. That was the expensive stuff. Raven popped the bottle and poured us both a glass, then brought her own desk chair over and sat it right in front of mine. She handed me a glass. I've been saving it for just this occasion, she said happily, holding her glass up to mine. I smiled shyly and clinked mine against hers. I took a sip. It was like drinking a cool summer breeze on a sunny day while standing next to a windmill in the French-speaking part of Holland with tulips blooming all around. Author's note. They speak French in Holland, right? I think so. Lol. Smiley face.
Okay. I don't know why that got to me so bad. I started telling Raven everything about last night. How I had gone to the carnival, how Ace had won me at the game, how he got me a giant stuffed giraffe, how he had given me the most romantic compliment ever, and how he had gone back to his place, how he had Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen.
Author's note.
How he had kissed my eyeball. Just then, Don't Forget Where You Belong by One Direction started playing. I gasped. It was the ringtone I had set on my phone for Grandma Rose. I took my phone out and answered.
Hello, Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire, Grandma Rose said happily. I'm calling just to let you know that I'm almost at your school. I can't wait to have lunch with you.
I can't wait either, Grandma Rose, I said. We hung up, and then a look of horror came over my face.
What is it? Raven asked.
Oh my God, Raven! I exclaimed. I completely forgot. Before I left Ace's apartment, we agreed to have lunch together today.
So what's the problem? Raven asked, smiling sweetly. Just have lunch with them both. Your Grandma Rose should probably get to know him anyway. You know, she winked at me. Since he's part of the family now.
Raven! I exclaimed, throwing my hairbrush at her. He is not part of the family.
Well, what choice do you have? Raven asked.
Maybe I can postpone lunch with Ace, I thought out loud. But just then, my phone vibrated. It was a text from Ace. It said, "Hey Rosie, can't wait for lunch!" Exclamation points. My shoulders slumped. How could I disappoint Ace right after the beautiful night we had shared? And it was already too late to postpone Grandma Rose. I guess I don't have a choice, I said, worried.
It will be okay, Raven said. Why don't you start getting ready? But don't think this means I don't want to hear all about how you two slept together later. You look so good, Grandma Rose gushed. We were sitting at our table at a family-friendly restaurant on the edge of campus. Grandma Rose and I had noticed it when she drove me to school on move-in day and decided we'd try it the next time she came to town. We had both really liked the cute logo with a chicken and a chef's hat.
Yeah, thanks, I said nervously. Ace still hadn't arrived.
No, really, Grandma Rose said. You look different somehow. Almost like you're glowing.
I blushed. But before I could say anything, the bell over the door rang, meaning that someone had just entered the restaurant. All the staff and customers collectively turned to the door and said, Hello. Welcome. To the family that had just walked in. It was a father, mother, and a young boy and girl. Hello, the family said back.
This is such a family-friendly restaurant, Grandma Rose said happily. She turned back to me. Now, as I was saying, you almost seem to be...
It must be the lighting, I said quickly, anxiously picking up a crayon and sketching a quick picture of a giraffe on the paper table covering.
Is your friend going to be here soon? She asked.
I think so, I said. I had told Grandma Rose that a friend of mine was going to join us, but I had been too nervous to tell her that it was a boy. What was she going to think? I checked my phone to see if Ace had texted me back after I told him that my Grandma Rose was here and where he could meet us for lunch. No response yet. My heart sank. Had I scared Ace off when I mentioned that my Grandma Rose would be here? Maybe he didn't want to meet her? But if he didn't want to meet my grandma, then what could have last night have meant to him? I heard the bell by the door ring. Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome, everyone said. Ace stood in the doorway. My heart melted. He looked so good. The light streaming in behind him was illuminating his chestnut hair like a spotlight shining on him. Ace looked around slowly from side to side, raising an eyebrow. Everyone was looking at him expectantly, smiling. He rolled his eyes. The staff and customers all turned to each other with concerned looks on their faces, murmuring.
That boy sure is rude, Grandma Rose said.
I smiled weakly. Ace saw us and started walking over, smirking. My heart was pounding. I felt lightheaded. How was this going to go? When Ace got to the table, he leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. I couldn't help but smile.
Hey, Rosie, he said casually. Grandma Rose's eyes shot up and her jaw dropped. Ace sat down and looked at her. Hey, he said, I'm Rosie's friend. He leaned back in his chair. She looked at me in disbelief. I felt myself turn red.
Grandma Rose, this is Ace, I said.
Oh, yes, I remember you from move-in day. Hello, Grandma Rose said. Ace smirked at her. The next few minutes went by in almost complete silence. After the waiter took our order, no one said a word until Ace reached all the way across the table for the water pitcher. I could have passed that to you if you asked, Grandma Rose said. I can manage, she said with a shrug. I could understand Grandma Rose's reaction. In my house, we always politely asked for someone to pass something that was across the table. And here Ace was just reaching across himself?
So, Ace lives in my dorm, I said to Grandma Rose, trying to start the conversation. I was desperate for them to get along.
Does he? She said. She looked over at him. And what are you majoring in, young man? She asked. He shrugged again. I haven't decided, he said, taking a gulp of water. I saw Grandma Rose's features tighten a bit. In our house, we always sipped, never gulped.
Ace has seen my pipe cleaner animals, I said, trying to get the conversation going again.
Oh, have you ever done anything with pipe cleaners? Grandma Rose asked him. I think I cleaned a pipe once, he said with a sarcastic laugh. He took another gulp of water.
My face fell. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Grandma Rose trying to get my attention. I looked up at her, and she started gesturing with her head over to Ace, gulping water. I looked away. After the food got there, we finished eating. Ace checked his phone.
I've got to run to class, he said. He stood. Nice meeting you, he said to Grandma Rose. He leaned down and kissed me on the cheek again. And I'll see you later. I'll pick you up for dinner at 7:17, so make sure you're ready. I nodded, feeling the warmth in my heart from how Ace always seemed to have the right words. And with that, he turned and walked out.
I nervously turned to Grandma Rose. So, that was Ace, I said. What did you think?
What do I think? Grandma Rose said. What do you think I think?
He's not that bad, I said quickly. He's just misunderstood.
Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire, he called you Rosie. Twice, she exclaimed. How could you let him do that?
He likes Rosie, I said defensively, and I like him. So why shouldn't he call me that?
What would your mother think about that, she asked. She put all of her heart and soul into your name.
I felt myself starting to tear up a little. It's okay, I said in a shaky voice.
Plus, he didn't even say hello back to the restaurant when he got here. He reached across the table for the water pitcher by himself, and he gulps his water, Grandma Rose said. How could you be friends with... Her eyes grew wide. Wait, your glow. It brightened when he was around. Did you... Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire? She leaned in, lowering her voice. Did you have an adult sleepover with him?
I felt the tears start to pour down my cheeks. What business is it of yours? I yelled. Every head in the restaurant turned to our table. What does it matter if we had an adult sleepover?
Mama, what's an adult sleepover? A little boy at a nearby table asked his mother.
Nothing, she said quickly, putting her hand over his ears.
Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire, keep your voice down, Grandma Rose pleaded.
No, I said, rising to my feet. You sent me away, and now you think you can come here and judge the choices I'm making? I like Ace, and I'm going to keep seeing him. Why can't you just back off and let me be happy? The restaurant was silent. Through my tears, I could see the hurt expression on Grandma Rose's face. I covered my face with my hands and ran out of a family-friendly restaurant, crying the whole way.
Author's note. I was also raised to sip water instead of gulp it. I never met any gulpers until I got to middle school. It was so shocking. But gulpers are people too. Do you like to sip or gulp your water? Let me know in the comments.
I really want people to respond to that one. So that was some heavy stuff.
Yeah,
And now we have psychology tests.
we do. All right, author's note. Hey, everyone. I just wanted to explain the chapter title for this chapter. I promise there isn't anything as boring as a real psychology test in it, lol. I just thought it seemed appropriate because in this chapter, Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire has to interact with 3 people who are all really diff from each other, and it's sort of like her own personal psychology test because she has to respond differently to all 3 of them, and so that's what I'm going for here. Really subtle, huh? Yeah, I thought so. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face.
Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire's point of view.
Well, is there anything else I can do for you before I go?
No, I think that's it, I said quietly, looking at the ground. I was standing by Grandma Rose's car with her. After I had run out of the restaurant, she came out after me, after paying, of course, and told me she was going to head home. I decided to go with her to see her off. We may have had an argument, but I still couldn't let her leave without saying goodbye. Still, things were really awkward between us, and neither of us seemed completely sure what to say.
Okay, Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I butted into your personal life, she said just as she was about to get in her car. I hope you know that I'm very proud of you, and I know your mother would be too.
I nodded stiffly. She stepped in to hug me, but without even realizing it, I took a step back. I couldn't believe my own actions.
Grandma Rose had a hurt look on her face, but she stepped back. Okay then, but before I go, I have one last thing to give you. She reached into the car and pulled something out and handed it to me. My eyes got really big. It was a new bag of pipe cleaners. Author's note. I heart Grandma Rose. She is so sweet. She is so much better than my bitch grandma. I just thought maybe you'd be getting low on the ones you brought to school with you, she said with a hurt smile. All right, I'm going to leave now. Take care, Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire. She started getting into the car.
Grandma Rose, wait! I cried out, tears spilling to my eyes, spraying to my eyes. She turned back around and I threw my arms around her in as big of a hug as I could manage. I'm sorry, Grandma Rose. I was just getting into the dramatics of it. Okay. I'm so sorry, Grandma Rose. Please don't be mad at me. Grandma Rose hugged me back and we both cried a lot. I love you so much, Grandma Rose. I'm sorry for everything, I sobbed.
I love you too, Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire. I could never be mad at you, she said through her own tears. The hug ended and we both stepped back a bit.
Thank you for the pipe cleaners, wise old turtle, I sniffed.
You're so welcome, little giraffe, she said, wiping her eyes. I'm sorry I got upset. I hope you know that I think you're turning into a fantastic young woman.
I smiled a bit, my eyes still blurry.
And that young man Ace is so handsome, she added. I laughed a bit. If you want to let him call you Rosie, then you can let him call you Rosie, she said, placing a hand on my shoulder.
Thanks, Grandma Rose, I said, giving her another big hug.
Okay, I should really be getting back then, she said, getting into the car.
I waved at her for as long as I could still see her as she drove off. Another few tears rolled down my cheeks. I was really happy that we had made up before she left. But now I really had to get to class. I ran from the visitors' parking lot over to the science building where my psychology class was. I got to the classroom and slid into my seat, just in time to avoid being late. Phew!
Hey there, Rosie, said a voice from beside me.
I gasped, turning to my right. It was Spike! Spike! I exclaimed. What are you doing here?
I take this class too, he said with a shrug. You've probably never noticed me before because I usually sit in the back.
Right. You take psychology, I said, rolling my eyes. That's just about the funniest joke I've ever heard since maybe 2 minutes ago.
Have you ever heard of an easy A? He sneered. Psychology is easy. Just say that the patient wants to bang his mother and you'll pass with flying colors.
Well, that is a really interesting theory, but why don't you go ahead and go back to the back of the class like you usually do? Okay, I said, turning away and getting my notebook out. The teacher, Professor Maribel, was walking up to the whiteboard at the front of the class, getting ready to begin the lesson. I really liked Professor Maribel. I wanted to pay attention to what she had to say.
No, I think I like it better up here, he said, snatching the bag of pipe cleaners that Grandma Rose had given me. Author's note, frowny face, frowny face, frowny face.
Hey, I said, don't touch that. My Grandma Rose gave me those.
Excuse me, Miss Mackenzie Braden, said Professor Maribel from the front of the room, looking at me unhappily. We're about to begin class. Please settle down.
Yes, of course. I'm so sorry, Professor Maribel, I said, blushing. That is so unfair, I thought. Spike got me in trouble with my favorite teacher.
Come on, Rosie, Spike whispered to me after Professor Maribel turned around. You know you want to let me get you out of those clothes. Why don't we ditch this class and go find a broom closet?
I turned completely red and looked at him with just about the angriest expression I've ever had. Don't laugh at me.
I could really feel the anger coming off of that.
It was an angry face, Will. It's not supposed to be funny.
You're right.
I already told you, I don't want to sleep with you, I hissed under my breath, grabbing the bag of pipe cleaners back and sticking my tongue out at him. And for your information, I don't think Ace would like it very much if he knew you were talking to me like that.
Forget about Ace, Spike said, putting an arm around me. Why don't you let Spike take real good care of you?
I swatted his hand away. He laughed, and Professor Maribel gave me another stern look. I couldn't believe it. The second class was over, I hurried out of the room so Spike wouldn't follow, and went right to the cafeteria for some food. I saw Arnie in line. Thank God, I thought, a friendly face. Hi, Arnie, I said, getting into line next to him.
Hi, Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire, he said with a smile. Then he looked me over and his smile disappeared. Is everything okay? You look flustered.
I'm fine, I lied. I just had a really long class.
Well, I'm glad you're here now, he said, smiling again.
Yeah, me too, I said, taking a deep breath and trying to center myself.
Hey, he said, looking down and fidgeting a bit. I was just wondering if maybe you wanted to, I don't know, maybe get together sometime tonight and study? When he finished talking, he looked back up at me, hope in his eyes.
OMG, I'm really sorry, Arnie. I mean, I would love to, but I actually kind of already have plans, I said, the sad look on my face.
What plans? He asked.
Well, just something I already agreed to, I finished, trying to be vague.
Arnie got a hurt look on his face. You're seeing Ace again, aren't you? He asked.
Arnie, I said, feeling myself begin to despair.
Is this the part where you tell me it's not what I think? He asked, sounding a little upset.
I sighed. I didn't know what to say to him. I'm sorry, Arnie, I finally said. Look, we can study together another time, okay? I promise.
Okay, Arnie said, turning away from me. The rest of the time we spent in the line and then at our table was really awkward. Author's note. So tell me what you think. Is Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire making the right choice by spending so much more time with Ace now? Should she be with Arnie instead? And what is going to happen with Spike? Keep reading to find out, except I may not be able to get another copter up tonight or tomorrow because my panrits are making me go to my stupid kid brother's choir recital. Ugh. But I promise I will get something else up soon because I heart all of you.
A real author would write during the recital on her phone, dimmed as much as she could. Come on, step up your game. Chapter 17. Mark and the moonless, mirthless, dour queen of darkness and sorrow. We just have to say that every time. Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire's point of view. I stood in front of my closet, which had become complete chaos over the past few hours. I had a few hours until my date with Ace, and I didn't have anything to wear. I'd gone through my entire closet, and nothing felt right. I wanted to wear something new, but everything felt old to me. I let out a frustrated sigh and sat on my bed. I started making a pipe cleaner animal to try and calm myself down. The new pipe cleaners Grandma Rose gave me felt like old friends in my hands. I started making a turtle, as a thank you to Grandma Rose, when Raven came waltzing into the room.
"What's got you looking so down?" she asked, eyeing the mess of my clothing on the floor.
I have a date tonight, but I don't know what to wear, I said.
Raven started smiling.
Why is she so happy about that? I wondered.
"Can I give you a makeover?" Raven asked. Then, off my look, she added, "Nothing too dramatic. Please, Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire. Please!" She started making a sad puppy dog face and batted her eyelashes. How could I say no?
I started to say sure, but before I could finish the word, Raven was pulling me out of the dorm. As Raven led me through the mall not far from our school, she started talking a mile a minute.
"I know where we can get you some fun outfits you might like. Oh, have you thought about eyeliner? It'll really make your eyes pop. You sure have beautiful eyes. I love that they don't match."
I didn't bother telling her I wished I had 2 blue eyes like my mom. I didn't want my green eye to pop, despite the way Ace had kissed it. I couldn't bring myself to love that part of me. At the thought of Ace kissing my eye, my heart fluttered in my chest. I wasn't a big fan of shopping, so every time we passed a shop, I felt relief. I was nervous to see what Raven had in mind for my makeover. The more we walked, the more I realized this mall was huge. I lost track of how long we had walked. Raven made her way around as if she shopped here all the time. Maybe she has, I thought. I wasn't like most girls my age who enjoyed spending weekends at the mall, getting makeovers. I wondered why I said yes if I knew I wasn't going to like it. Raven finally brought me into a store called OMG, It's Punk. Most of the clothes were black, and if not black, they were red, purple, or very dark gray. I looked around, horrified, as Raven went to a rack of shirts and started sifting through them. I picked up a shirt and was met with the image of a heavily tattooed man in eyeliner holding up both his middle fingers with the word life in big white letters underneath him. Raven? Who are we shopping for? I asked, putting the shirt down.
"For you, silly." Raven pulled a shirt off the hanger and held it up to me. She shook her head and put the first back.
I noticed a pile of...
Go ahead.
I noticed a pile of clothing already in her arms. I gulped. This was going to be a long day. Raven sent me into a dressing room with an outfit and told me to come out once I put it on. It definitely wasn't my kind of outfit. There was a black top with no shoulders, with a picture of a band I didn't know. The members all had lots of tattoos and fierce expressions on their faces. There was also a pair of equally dark skinny jeans that were ripped so much it was almost like wearing nothing.
"Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire, come out. I want to see how it looks," Raven sang from the other side of the curtain.
I came out of the dressing room and did a slow turn.
"Work it, girl. Yes," Raven said. Raven stopped me and looked the front of the outfit up and down, a confused look on her face. "It's missing something." She considered my look for a minute.
What? I asked, as her look of careful consideration turned into one of excitement.
"You need to pull it down more."
My eyes grew wide at her suggestion. What? I asked.
"Show yourself off. Be bold."
I tried to keep my horrified blush off my face. I shook my head.
Raven nudged me and winked. "It's not like Ace hasn't seen your neck before." And then she reached up and pulled the top down even more. I quickly glanced around to make sure no one noticed. Thankfully, OMG It's Punk didn't seem to be that busy. I looked at my outfit in the mirror and fought the urge to pull the top back up.
I look like I'm going to a funeral, I said.
"A sexy funeral," Raven said with a wink.
A funeral is still a funeral.
Raven considered this with a hand on her chin. "Maybe some color would be nice," she said. "You do look a little pale in that." Raven got some more clothes out of the pile beside her and sent me back to the changing room. This time it was a one-piece black latex dress with just about the lowest neck ever. I couldn't believe it. I looked at myself in the mirror and sighed. The dress was far too short. It didn't cover all of my thighs, instead it came to a stop about halfway down. There's no way I could leave the changing room looking like this.
Raven, this one doesn't work, I called out.
Show it to me, Raven called back.
I poked my head out of the changing room and looked around. No one was nearby, so I slowly stepped out from behind the curtain. Raven took in my appearance. She motioned for me to do a twirl, and I complied. I crossed my arms over my chest to show discomfort with the outfit. This dress is too short, I said.
Raven looked at the dress and then at me. It goes halfway down your thighs, she said.
Yeah, I know. I was happy she could see what was wrong with the dress, too.
Do you want a shorter one? Raven asked, sounding confused.
My eyes just about popped out of my head. I wouldn't be needing any eyeliner at this rate. No, it's too short, I exclaimed. I must have been louder than I thought because a worker came over to the changing room area.
Is everything okay? He asked. He was heavily tattooed and had several piercings in his ears and on his face. His hair reached just past his shoulders and was dyed black and red. His name tag read, Mark, with manager written in tiny letters underneath it. I was horrified that someone else was seeing me in such a scandalous outfit. I tried to pull the dress down a little more in the hopes that it would cover my knees, but realized that doing so would expose more of my chest. I quickly stopped and crossed my arms over my chest to try and cover myself more. I'm trying to help my friend get ready for her date, Raven said, but nothing seems to be working. Mark nodded thoughtfully, as if he was used to problems like these. It's important to look good for your date. Let me close the store, so I can help you find something with no distractions. Mark walked away. I couldn't believe it! He was going to close the store to help me? Mark came back with another worker. Her name tag read, Moonless, Mirthless, Dour Queen of Darkness and Sorrow, with assistant manager written under it in tiny letters. She wore lots of dark makeup. Even her lipstick was black. Sup, she said, blowing a bubble of dark bubblegum. We need help finding the perfect outfit for my friend Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire. She's going on a date tonight, Raven explained. Mark and Moonless, Mirthless, Dour Queen of Darkness and Sorrow looked at me. I avoided their eyes by looking at the floor. Those clothes don't match the energy I'm getting from you, Moonless, Mirthless, Dour Queen of Darkness and Sorrow said. They feel too dark.
They are, I said. I mean, just look at this dress.
Moonless, Mirthless, Dour Queen of Darkness and Sorrow looked confused. Do you want a shorter one? She asked. I felt myself blushing. We should all look around the store, see if anything fits Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire's energy, Mark suggested. That way we can cover more ground.
We all split up to cover different parts of the store. It was bigger than I expected it to be. While Raven looked through the jeans section, Mark was looking at t-shirts, and Moonless, Mirthless, Dour Queen of Darkness and Sorrow was looking at some dresses. That left me with the sales bin by the cash register. I started pulling out black shirt after black shirt. Some of them had images, but nothing I would wear. Finally, just as I was about to give up hope, I saw a flash of color at the bottom of the bin. You guys, I called, come look at this. The t-shirt was a light blue. I grabbed hold of the small sliver of fabric I could see and pulled. Raven was suddenly by my side. She reached into the bin and helped me lift the shirt out. Once it was in my hands, I held it up. My eyes began to water. My hands were shaking. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't speak. Every breath I took fell short. There was a prideful swell in my chest.
I don't think that's from our store, Mark said. I think it's from the little giraffe store across from us. Someone must have forgotten it here.
I didn't hear much past my nickname. I felt a tear slip from my eye. The shirt was deep blue. It had a picture of a giraffe holding a fishing rod, sitting on a dock with the words, "You're a catch," in a speech bubble above its head. The giraffe wore dark sunglasses that reminded me of Ace's casualness. I think this is it, I said.
Raven arched an eyebrow. This? Really? Mark and Moonless, Mirthless, Dour Queen of Darkness and Sorrow also looked skeptical.
I nodded silently.
Well, go try it on, she said with a shrug.
I made my way to the dressing room, but this time there was something different in the air. I put the shirt on the shirt. It fit me perfectly. I looked at my reflection in the dressing room mirror. An angel stared back at me. I could barely recognize myself. Okay. I can't. One second. Okay. The shirt fit my body like a glove, as if it were made for me and me alone. Its ocean blue fabric brought out the color of both my eyes beautifully, even the green one. It contrasted radiantly with my pink lips, eliminating any need for lipstick. I was, dare I say, beautiful? I was that angel. Slowly, I stepped out of the dressing room. Raven, Mark, and moonless, mirthless, dour queen of darkness and sorrow all turned to look at me, their jaws dropping.
OMG, Raven gasped. Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire, you look... Moonless, mirthless, dour queen of darkness and sorrow's makeup was running down her face as she cried from the pure beauty of my outfit. Yes, she whispered, falling to her knees. This is your energy. Even Mark wiped away some tears as he looked at me. You know what? He said, take it. That shirt was made for you. I can't charge you for it. It's too perfect.
I felt myself tearing up again. Thank you. I took one last look at myself in the mirror and smiled. I just hope Ace liked it.
Author's note. Fun fact, I once had a babysitter named Moonless, Mirthless, Dour Queen of Darkness and Sorrow. I hope she doesn't mind me using her name. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. Thank you for reading this chapter. It was so much fun to write. Do you think Ace will like the outfit? Comment down below.
Oh man. Chapter 18, The Slutty Waitress. Rosalind Jasmine Sapphire's point of view. I felt the cool air of the early evening as I walked out of the dorm to wait for Ace. I couldn't help but feel really nervous. We had been on a date before, of course, but this would be our first date since we slept together. What if he doesn't like my outfit, I wondered, or my hair, or just me in general anymore? Honk, honk, honk. The honking noise was coming from the street just next to the dorm. I looked over and my mouth almost dropped completely into the center of the earth. Ace was standing there, leaning against the car with his hands through the window just to honk the horn. His hair was slicked back and he was wearing dark sunglasses, a black leather jacket, and a black shirt underneath. Black pants.
Granted, I don't have dark sunglasses, but...
Black boots, and just, in general, looking like a complete and total sexy badass. The words he then spoke were ones I knew I would never forget for as long as I lived.
Hey, Rosie. Hurry up or we'll miss our reservation.
I didn't need to be told twice. I hurried over to him as fast as I could, beaming the whole way. Hey, Ace, I said when I got to him, trying to match his casual attitude. He looked me up and down from behind his sunglasses.
You don't look half bad, he finally said. I could have kissed him right there.
I looked at the car. Hey, isn't that Spike's car? I asked.
Yeah, mine isn't running right now. I'm gonna have to work on it tomorrow, he said.
You work on your own car? I asked, really impressed.
Yeah, no big deal, he said. I couldn't imagine anyone being more casual than him. And anyways, Spike owed me a favor, so I got him to let me use his tonight. Let's go.
With that, Ace pushed off from the car and opened the passenger door for me. I was completely blushing as I got in. Then he walked around to the other side and got in the driver's seat. He started the car, and we started driving to our date. So where are you taking me? I asked, trying to not give away that I was dying to know.
He looked over at me for a second and smirked, then looked back at the road. Just someplace for dinner, he said.
Just someplace?
Someplace special, he added. I blushed even more.
Ace Pike, I said with a huge smile on my face. What do you have planned?
Don't worry about it, he said. Eyes still on the road, smirk still on face. Just relax.
I'm really looking forward to tonight, I said. I've been thinking about it all day.
Yeah, me too.
Aww, really? I asked.
He looked over at me again, still smirking. What do you think? He asked. I almost regretted not bringing a scarf to warm myself from how cool he was. After we had driven into town for a while, we finally got to where we were going. Ace parked the car, got out, and walked around to my side to open the door for me. I got out of the car and gasped. He had taken me to Signor Pastasciutta's Naturalmente Buono Margherita Colosseo Marinara Venezia Palermo Napoli Ristorante Deli Delizie. It was the most expensive and fancy and exclusive restaurant in town. Author's note. And it's an Italian restaurant, too. I just wanted to make that clear because I wasn't sure how to work it into the story naturally.
Oh my gosh, Ace! I exclaimed. Can you really afford to take me here?
He shrugged really casually. I've got my ways, he said. Shall we? We walked into the restaurant. The whole time it felt like I was in a dream. All of the other people eating in here were big and important and probably really rich. And here I was, this young college girl on a date, and I already knew exactly what I was going to order, too. The spaghetti with extra spaghetti and a side of spaghetti and my absolute favorite drink ever, a virgin spaghetti colada. The host, a guy who looked like he was probably our age, greeted us when we finished walking in.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to Senior... I can't do it well.
Good evening. Welcome to Signor Pastasciutta's Naturalmente Buono Margherita Colosseo Marinara Venezia Palermo Napoli Ristorante Deli Delizie, he said, sounding really sophisticated. Do you have a reservation? 2, Ace said. The name is Ace Pike. Very good, Mr. Pike. He looked at his book. Ah, I see we have you right here. It will be you tonight then, and Miss... Oh my. He looked at me, eyes getting big. What a lovely lady you have with you this evening, Mr. Pike, he said, not taking his eyes off of me. I felt myself blushing a little. And just what is your name, my beauty? He said, leaning in close on his host's stand. Her name is Back Off and Take Us to Our Table, Ace growled. Even from behind his dark sunglasses, I could see he was shooting daggers at the host. The host got really pale. Why, yes, yes, of course, Mr. Pike, he said. Please forgive me. Right this way. The host led us to our table.
Whoa, I thought. Ace loves me so much, he won't even let another guy look at me. I couldn't believe how lucky I was. The host seated us at a table right in the middle of the restaurant, gave us menus, and disappeared. I didn't know you could be so protective, I said, my face still red with how flattering his act of bravo had been.
Nobody moves in on my girl, he said. I practically swooned. Suddenly, the waitress came over. She was dressed in the regular uniform for Signor Pastasciutta's Naturalmente Buono Margherita Colosseo Marinara Venezia Palermo Napoli Ristorante Deli Delizie, which was a white button-up shirt and dark pants. She had black hair tied back in a high ponytail and really thick eyeliner. Hello, she began, but stopped as soon as she looked at Ace. I saw her blush a little. Hello, I'll be your waitress this evening, she finished, her eyes completely locked on Ace, not even bothering to acknowledge me. Ace looked up at her, smirking. Is there anything at all that I can do for you this evening? She asked, still looking right at him.
She had some nerve, I thought angrily, hitting on my date. But I wasn't worried, because if the way Ace had scared off the host was any indication, he was about to shut her down hard. But to my complete shock, Ace didn't do anything like that.
We'll just have some water for now, sweetie, he said to her. I couldn't tell from behind his dark glasses, but I swear he even winked at her. Right away, the waitress said before running off.
Ace? What was that? I asked a little upset. That waitress was totally flirting with you.
She's just working for a tip, don't worry about it, he said.
I wasn't so sure, but I figured that he might be right, so I took a deep breath and made myself calm down. A minute later, the waitress came back with our water. She handed mine over to me. I reached out to take it. Thank you. Hey, I said. She was holding the glass of water so sloppily that she spilled half of it on the table in front of me. The reason she was holding it like that is because once again, she wasn't even looking at me.
Oh, sorry, she said, eyes still locked on Ace as he took his water glass from her. Here, this should help mop it up. She handed me a napkin like she expected me to clean up the water myself. Wasn't that her job? Getting a little steamed, I took the napkin and mopped up the water as best as I could.
Okay, thanks, I said darkly. I held the napkin up for her to take, which she didn't notice because she was still looking at Ace. And then I noticed something I hadn't noticed before, and I gasped out loud. She had undone the top 2 buttons of her shirt and was standing right in front of Ace to give him as good a view as possible. That does it, I thought. She's no longer waitress. She is officially slutty waitress.
If you like, I could bring some bread for the table, slutty waitress said to Ace. Yeah, that would be great, sweetie, Ace said. Slutty waitress turned away from Ace, looking at me for the first time. She looked me up and down like she was sizing me up as competition, then walked away with a really condescending smile. Author's note. If any waitress ever did that to me, I would slap a bitch. Frowny face, frowny face.
Ace, I said angrily. She is not working for a tip. She's undoing the buttons on her shirt.
Come on, Rosie, Ace said, looking over the menu. What did I tell you earlier? Just relax. I'm here with you. We're having a good time.
I huffed. I'm not so sure, I said. But before I could say anything else, slutty waitress came back with a basket of bread. My eyes grew as big as the dinner plates on our table because she now had undone all the buttons on her shirt. I could see her lacy bra. She dropped the bread. Why is that so hard for me to say? She dropped the bread basket right in front of Ace. And it actually landed on one of his fingers that was on the table to turn the pages of the menu.
Oh my god, I am so sorry, she said, getting down on her knees and taking Ace's hand in hers.
Hey, I tried to say.
Is it sore? Slutty waitress asked, holding out Ace's finger and blowing on it. Sometimes you just have to blow on it to make it feel better, she said, looking him right in the eye. I'm actually really good at blowing. So is there anything else at all that I can do for you?
I think my face must have been as red as a fire truck.
Yeah, actually, Ace said, smirking. Do you have any menu recommendations? I can't decide on what to get. Of course I do, slutty waitress said, standing up again. She got right next to Ace, then leaned way down to look at the menu. Her bra was right in his face. We have a lot of popular dishes, she whispered into his ear, but one of our most popular is the chicken breast.
Excuse me, I think we need to spend more time to decide, I said really loudly. Slutty waitress gave me a dirty look, then walked away. Ace, what are you doing? I practically yelled. How could you let this slutty waitress act like that right in front of me?
What are you talking about? Ace said. She's just being friendly. It's no big deal. You're overreacting.
I could feel the steam coming out of my ears. I am most certainly not overreacting, I said. She was about 2 seconds away from... I couldn't finish because my jaw dropped completely open. The slutty waitress was back, and this time her shirt was still undone, and she had gotten rid of her bra altogether.
I'm sorry about dropping the bread basket on your finger earlier, she said to Ace. I just want you to know that I am completely and totally dedicated to giving you the best service possible this evening. Is there anything at all that I can do for you?
Furious, I looked over to Ace for his reaction. He looked at me, then back at the slutty waitress. Then he looked at me again, and then back at the slutty waitress.
Well, he said, maybe there is one thing.
I flung my hands up in complete disgust. He's all yours, I shouted to slutty waitress. Then I got up and stormed out of the restaurant. I was halfway across the parking lot before Ace caught up to me, grabbing me by the arm and turning me around to face him.
Hey, what was that all about? He demanded.
Ace, how could you? I said, tears falling from my eyes. How could you let that slutty waitress flirt with you like that? I thought you loved me.
I do love you, he said, sounding defensive. I told you she was just messing around. It happens all the time in food service.
Not like that, it doesn't, I yelled. I was so humiliated. I can't even look at you right now. I just want to go home. I turned back around and started walking away.
Well, at least let me drive you back, I heard Ace shout from behind me.
No, I'm walking, I shouted back. I walked the entire way back to my dorm, and I didn't even care that I completely ruined my shoes in the process, or that I never got to have my virgin spaghetti colada because I was still crying the whole way.
Author's note. Ugh, slutty waitresses. Am I right, girls?
So,
And that will wrap it up for today.
yep, some dark stuff there.
Yes.
Slutty waitresses.
A bane on humanity.
Truly. Like when they unbutton their shirts and lose their
Get rid of
bras.
their bras. Yeah, it's just, we've got to put a stop to that.
Yeah.
So, check us out next time when we'll be doing, I think, chapters 19 through 22.
Yeah.
Getting close to the end.
We still have so much drama. It'll be good.